All right, folks, can you hear us? I think you can. Okay, good. There we go. We are back. Hey, guys. KJ here from Rigged Reality. Welcome back to the show, guys. I was off there for a few weeks, had some technical problems. Have to give a shout-out to Angel. He's the station manager for PSN Radio. Gave me a lot of help. Thanks for joining us, you guys. Sorry we had a little trouble there with the intro. We should be good now. It has been a while. I'm a little rusty. It's been a few weeks. All that being said, once again, welcome to Rigged Reality Radio. We're your alternative to the alternative media. You can check us out here live every Thursday evening at psnradio.com, and just check out the chat there if you like. So, anyway, thanks again, guys. Got a good show tonight. I have got second hour. I've got Michael from Shield of the Son coming on. He's got some really cool stuff to talk about, dealing with Russia and kind of all the stuff happening out there right now. We know it's a hot spot. He's going to take us on kind of the spiritual side of that. We're going to explore a few things. And here in the first hour, I've got a new friend I'm very excited to bring to you. His name is Paul, and he runs a channel that is called Understanding Conspiracy. I am brand new to this. Paul's actually done some work with a good friend of mine, even outside of YouTube. That's Dazzling One. I'm a big fan of Dazzling One. Paul's done some work with her as well. She's mentioned him to me. I'm going to just bring him right in because before I do, though, I just got to say, these are the kind of channels I'm loving. Paul's YouTube channel is fairly small. He just got started, but he's doing some great work. I'm going to let him talk about himself a little bit, tell us about who he is, where he comes from, and then I want to get to this interview he did. Paul did some amazing work, guys, and I really hope you get a chance to see it. So, Paul, just about you, man. Welcome to the show, first off.
Oh, wow. Thanks, man. That was a really brilliant intro. Wow. I feel flattered for what you just said. That's fantastic. I'm glad you like what I'm doing. I really do. I guess I'll start by saying my name's Paul Stobbs. You can follow me outside of YouTube. I am an artist, and I have a blog out there. It's got quite a lot of new agey stuff, drawings on there right now. But there's some other stuff I've done in between if you want to check that out. But other than that, my main focus as an artist hasn't really been on making any symbols or anything of the sorts. It's been focusing on this brand new culture that's kind of really developed in the past 13 years since, well, I guess 9/11 online on the internet. And it's this conspiracy culture, which is brand new to mankind in the sense that it's the internet, man. It's changed everything. I think we can all appreciate that, researching these things, what an important role the internet has played in kind of bringing people together to talk about conspiracy in ways that's so visual and unique in all sorts of crazy stylistic ways, which, I think the most popular example we can use is we can all relate to the Matrix imagery, or let's say, for a dream in the background. But it's kind of. So go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, man. There's a little delay. Go ahead. Continue your thought. Sorry.
No, it's fine, but it's led me to create this channel called Understanding Conspiracy. This mass research I've been doing for the past 3 years through my degree.
I want to throw something. And yeah, I wanted to actually get into that, the artist side of you actually too, because I think you and I discussed that a little bit off air, but I'm seeing that a lot too, that a lot of people who are uncovering things out there, they're artists, they're really putting things together in a very creative and interesting way. I like to consider myself one of them, but I have an art school degree and all that myself and that kind of background. You're doing it, and a lot of people out there, but, somebody mentioned an artist to me. It was weird how synchronicities work, but it was earlier today on YouTube. I saw a message, and have you ever heard of, I think it's like John Paul Basquiat or something like that? He was a painter. Or Jean-Michel. Yeah, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I think that's how you say his name. Anyway, so someone had mentioned him to me. And then I go to the living room a little while ago, and on one of these channels is a documentary on that guy. So I actually sat there and watched it. It's really interesting. I've got a lot of different feelings about it. I don't need to go into all of it right now, but I will say this, that I do see that a very common thing there between even just like, an artist is an artist, and we're needed now. I'm not saying not everybody's an artist. Some people, some of my videos, I'll just sit there and point the camera at the screen and talk about stuff. I get it. We all have our thing, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a tangent.
Well, man, I completely empathize. If you're interested, I've done a video on this already on my channel. It's called the Trivialization of Art, and I talk with an Oxford student who studies English language and literature at Oxford. He's a good friend of mine, Adam, And we discussed the philosophy behind how art has become something very misunderstood by modern society, if not through the conspiracy, but just through lack of interest to learning what it means to be an artist today. And I'm not going to go into details now and bore your fans on this because it's all there in that.
No, it's interesting, but please go ahead.
It's kind of, art is a very interesting. I came at this whole theory, culture and conspiracy from the artistic angle as this is something I'm going to study for my degree, just as content to make artwork with. But then I stopped making artwork just to focus on all of this, and it became my artwork. This channel was what I came up with. This is my baby. You know, this is what I'm doing now as an artist, to create videos and teach about this culture, which you have to understand, KG, the culture is a little bit different in England. Not a lot of people are willing to listen to Requiem for a Dream while looking at Matrix imagery and explosions to take this stuff seriously. I know not everyone does that, and there's a lot of people out there who do that. It works for some and not for others. And I'm trying to convince those people who need a smiling man in a suit because they kind of live in a capitalist world where they demand that kind of attitude. So I have to present it in a very professional way, and that's kind of what my channel's aiming to do. But I take inspiration from the fun and the comedy that we have, you know, when we try to express this to people, because it is kind of, we have to be lighthearted with this information. Comedy is like the best tool, you know, it's the best way to spread any message to anybody, and artists know this. So what we do is we try and send it with love, you know, and humour. And if we can make the audience laugh while we're telling them the world's ending, hopefully they can take it on board and maybe do something with it, kind of, you know, productively rather than with fear, because obviously reaction is the issue with this information. A lot of people react in negative ways when they hear that the whole world is falling apart, and it's kind of my aim, my ethos is how can we cushion this and help people understand that we're not crazy, which a lot of the people's opinions are. We're just working together here, and we can present our ways. They need like a professional presentation. Some people just aren't buying it, you know.
Totally, yeah. Well, you know, then there's the whole
salesman attitude. I know, but I think someone needs to be a salesman in this side.
Yeah, and everyone has a different teacher. You know, there's so many different kinds of teachers on YouTube, and there's different kinds of students, and we all evolve and change. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I went through some of my earliest videos about a month ago. I haven't seen them in forever. Plus, a lot of them were getting tagged for copyright. Of course, I'm dealing with that all the time too. But it trips me out. You know, you go back to that stuff way back, and I don't know, man. You know, one thing I noticed I used to do is I'd put a lot of scary music over the conspiracy stuff, you know, and I noticed that, you know, that's something I picked up from other people. And, you know, it works at times, but I've tried to kind of break that mold myself, you know, because you're right. Not everyone needs to hear dun, 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 you know, like demons flying at them and, you know, butcher knives.
Yeah, it's just terrible. It's just epic music. That's the best way to describe it. It's epic build-up music. It's a very popular thing in our culture when we try and express these ideas to people. And no, it does work. And you can't really blame most people doing it when they start, because it's all they've been taught through Hollywood. That's how people want to see things. So it's kind of already it's kind of a part of the conspiracy when you want to think about it, you know, to that level. It's kind of like it's a product of people not really understanding this information fully yet and just getting it out as quickly as possible. And there's, you know, I think this is what my idea is now. We're in 2014. I think this culture's been around long enough now to kind of organize it to become something serious, you know, like a movement of some kind where we can all talk and present ourselves in a way that's more refined than it used to be, because we now know everything. I think we've figured out the game now, haven't we? We kind of know what the conspiracy is, essentially. We know how this game works now, how the occult works. And now it's time to really finalize this and get this information out, because we are essentially, well, it feels like we're running out of time, but I don't know. I don't want to make that claim.
Yeah, there is that vibe, isn't it interesting? Even my friends that don't believe in God or any of that have a feeling. I don't have any super close friends like that anymore. I do have a few friends that are kind of agnostic, but you know, even they know there's something in the air, and that's actually something I wanted to see if you wanted to talk about, because I think a lot of people could learn from this. But it's another thing I really admire about you, Paul, and I mean that, is that you're coming at all this. You came at all this, quote, conspiracy stuff at the time from more of kind of an agnostic point of view, which I really like that, man. I've always been very spiritual myself, so a lot of this stuff came easy to me. I like this unusual stuff. But when I find people that come from more like, you know, straight up just reason, science, logic, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and then they come in and they have their awakening. It's brilliant. So you want to talk a little bit about that kind of whole thing and how you came into this?
Oh yeah, I guess I do. Yeah, you have to understand, my upbringing wasn't I have a Catholic surrounding, I guess. My grandma's Catholic. I'm named Paul. My dad's called Anthony. And
Yeah.
my uncle's called Peter. And my cousin's called Alex. My brother's called David. It's incredible, really. But so I've always known about Christianity. And maybe Catholicism more so. I never really understood any of it. I didn't really get, who Christ was or what he did. I saw images of him everywhere as a child growing up, as a teenager, but I didn't really know him or anything about him, this character, this Jesus Christ figure. So it's kind of, I always grew up with kind of the empirical method, putting more faith in the science, because my friend, very close friend of mine, kind of backed that up with me, and we used to have back and forth conversations about philosophy, just about science and how great it is. It's kind of, and then I have more of an art explosion, as I really found who I was. I was always an artist. I never really wasn't an artist. So I always was more aligned to be more leftist, and willing to open to things. I was very impressionable.
Right.
I got in heavily into the taking drugs side of things and psychedelic perspectives, but it was classy. I kept it classy. I was never dark with it, and it was always.
Well, let me ask you. Did you ever do DMT?
I have, yeah, I have. Well,
Okay.
I did China, which is kind of the leaf version of DMT.
Because I've never done that. I've definitely had my experiences with the chemicals throughout the years, not speed so much or anything, but you know what I mean. But I used to do a lot of the psychedelic thing too. That's something I never did or got into because I was just for my own research. I was always concerned of where I might wind up. You want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, sure. Well, my artwork on my blog, it's just Paul Anthony Stobbs at blogspot.co.uk. There's a lot of photography I've done while on acid, and I try to take the geometry from the visions you kind of see and express how it really works in the figure of nature and land. And it's kind of, like I said, I went through a spiritualist moment doing all these things, is what I'm trying to explain, and I was always open to the idea that there's a power beyond I can understand. It's this kind of, it seems like there's a design to everything when you do these drugs, and it seems like you do go outside of this to something. And it's difficult to put in words because language is kind of the problem. And
yeah,
it's incredible. I knew all these things before I'd researched conspiracies. What I'm saying here, I was a philosopher always, so it kind of came easy to me to some extent because I had an awareness of this psychology. But I was always listening to the philosophies of Alan Watts, this old philosophy from like the 30s up into the 70s of Zen duality.
Yeah,
and this idea of Zen, and. I've been heavily into him, and he's a huge influence on me because I think it's why I'm so calm with these things, and how I can
great.
Essentially play a character. I mean, I'm not saying I'm lying to people, but it comes easy to me to perform. I'm a musician as well. I play piano, guitar, and I sing, and I have a band now. I have music as well. You'll probably find that if you Google my name.
Well, Paul, I got to ask. I'm a big music geek. What kind of music do you listen to? What are you influenced by? Kasabian, by chance?
I know one song by Kasabian. To be honest, man, I'm more of a. I've learned piano.
So classier.
But no, well, yeah, I guess I know one classical. I can play Ferry Lee, but I haven't learned improv jazz and blues, so I can kind of just vamp on the piano.
Cool.
Then I learned the guitar, and you can probably hear the influence if you listen to my music and just YouTube my name. There's videos of me. Look for Long Haired Child. That's like the recent one I've done. If anyone's listening.
I will, and like I said, I've got a lot of catching up to do on your channel. I will be checking all this out.
It's all linked on my channel. You can find like my side channels on there. It's just my name, Paul Stobbs, and it's got a this yin yang symbol with this new age look on it. I really need to update it, to be honest. I've got a lot of new age stuff that I'm over now from when I was researching.
Good for you, yeah. Exactly, and people will call you on it eventually, like, "Oh, you're exposing things, but look at your avatar."
But I'm opening this up now. I just drew it because I'm an artist when I was researching conspiracy because I was doing a degree at the time in fine art, so I needed to make artwork for what I was researching, which is conspiracy. So I drew all this geometry stuff, and eventually it adapted into a performance piece where I did this. I talked to people about conspiracies, and I've got it all recorded. I might upload it one day. And it was just in a public environment, at a gallery, and I was telling people this stuff and recording their reactions. Because I think we need to see these people's reactions and understand what these people are really thinking when we show them these crazy things.
Oh, you did that. You did that.
So
Paul.
I filmed their reactions, and I might put it on one day. The quality's a bit low, but I might do it again, and put a better one up and now at home. So we can see what people really look like when we tell them these things.
Yeah, man. That's a great idea. They have a thing where it's always like, people's reaction to, and it's like something really gross. You know what I mean? But that's great. You could have your whole new thing there. Plus, you already do kind of a podcast, don't you?
Well, it's a podcast. I guess no, not a podcast per se. I do interviews with theorists, and I just talk with them about conspiracies. Anyone and everyone who wants to talk with me, if I have the time, I'll just have a conversation with you about where you're at, what you're thinking about the conspiracy, and how you feel about it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, I'll definitely come on your. I've never been on anybody else's show, but that'd be cool, man. If anybody, I have, but not one-on-one.
It's back and forth about just feelings, and because there's an emotional journey to conspiracy, which a lot of people have to go through on their own. And what I'm saying is, let's talk about that first, so anyone who comes on who knows how to deal with it, and they know where to come to deal with, like to find this information. And I'm hoping it can be my channel because it's quite it's not sensationalist per se, but it hits on all the right points.
There needs to be a level of calm with some of this as well. Definitely. I mean, I started on Alex Jones. He was really the thing that woke me up many years ago.
It's the first thing you see. That's what I mean. These are the characters they first see, and they leave a negative, terrible impression. Which is why I came for Stephen Christ, by the way. Which is why I went for him, because he was really. I'm sorry, but.
For the audience, I just want to say this quickly, Paul. Sorry about that. We're about to get into the not that we haven't been into the good stuff, but into the really, really good stuff. This was my first introduction to Paul. Was watching this interview he did, and like I said, also by the way Paul looks, he looks like he's 12 years old. I don't mean that as a knock. I mean you just want to reach to the screen and pinch his little cheeks, But he takes he takes on this muscle head that thinks he's Jesus Christ, I believe, and you get to watch it. And it was absolutely fascinating. So please go ahead and talk to us about that.
No, look. I need to lay this down now because it's still quite fresh. It's very fresh. It only happened like in the past 2 days, and the video I made as a response, I literally worked on because I knew this had to come out very quickly to back my ass up, right? Because I was attacking someone with a following here. He has followers who really believe. And it's not them I'm going for. I'm trying to help here. That's the way I thought about this when I was going at it. Because these people are being deceived by an occult fraud, essentially. That's what I've called the video. And you might think I'm harsh in assuming these things, but I think I proved it very well in my video, who this man really is and what his intentions really are. And if there's any Christians listening, I'm aiming it at you. Look, we need to get on this. I don't call myself a Christian, but I'm learning who Christ is, and I'm still on that journey. So don't judge me on that. But I know.
No, of course not, man.
I've listened to all the Christian perspective on the conspiracy because at the end of the day, this is a Christian satanic battle of some kind that we're dealing with here symbolically.
Yeah.
So we have to take that seriously, and I'm taking it seriously too, coming from an angle of taking it seriously from a logistical standpoint initially. It's kind of I'm realizing if they're worshipping Satan, and it's happening on a mass scale with the symbolism so obviously, which I can see through artistry.
You got to be careful, Paul. You're critically thinking, and I love that, man. You're right. That you can use reason and logic with all of this.
Exactly. What I'm trying to show here, so it kind of gets to the idea of, if they are worshipping Satan, then I have to take seriously the idea that Christ, the opposite, is real too. And then I have to take seriously the prophecy which was written in the Bible. So I've been trying to look into that more. I do quote scripture in this video, which is the first time I've ever quoted scripture aloud, which felt very strange. But it's revelation about the whore of Babylon to prove who this man is. But he I'm taking it seriously. So I've tried to express the Christian religion as best I knew it. I may have made some mistakes, but I think I understood enough to know that this man was lying. He was Antichrist, logic, everything about him. I'm still trying to figure out his intentions.
Go ahead.
I'm still trying to figure out his intentions, but I already know his intentions are not to be taken seriously and are not to be trusted.
He kept saying it was a joke. Like, oh, can't you take humor? I was just being funny, like about the Antichrist stuff and all that.
Well, I've proved very well why that's not a logistical response and doesn't really prove his point at all. It actually helps back me. I don't know his intentions yet. I don't know how he gets away with it. He is the only person talking about his theory, though. Now, this is something, it might be hard to swallow, but I'm coming at this, I'm taking everything in that is offered to me. His theory that the Earth is concave, and this is what it's all about. He doesn't just think he's God, people. He thinks the Earth is outside in, and all the universe is held within a sphere, within the middle of the sphere. And he's perpetuating this concave Earth theory. And it's very difficult to describe, but if you watch the video, you'll understand what I'm talking about in this respect. And we're all living on the inside of the Earth, and there's a glass ceiling with a glass ball, and there's ice attached to it. And he's prophesizing that the end times doomsday event is the ice will fall, and that will be the wipeout event. And he's calling for all of his followers to receive the mark he's created, this satanic symbol, which he's claiming is to be the true mark of God, who he claims he is. And he says, "Follow me, and you'll all be rounded up into the FEMA camps when this happens, because they know it's coming, apparently. And you have to put this mark on either your forehead, your arm, or your chest." He says it in one of his many, many videos, where he perpetuates this same theory over and over again, saying, "Follow me into the underground military bases, the DUMBs, and you'll be saved from the falling ice. But if you don't take the mark, you'll die. Believe in me, follow me. If you don't follow me, then you're going to die when the ice falls," basically. Now, listen, what I've realized this man is doing, he is an occultic magician. He is a brilliant method actor. This man is not to be taken seriously, but at the same time we should take this serious, because this man knows what he's doing. He is taking a very old theory that the Earth may be inside out, which actually, hear me out, may have some weight to it to some extent. I don't know the ins and outs fully yet, but it seems like there are some questionable ideas with this. But this man is he is the worst man to sell this idea, is all I'm saying, and he is the only one selling it. So if we have to take seriously that the conspiracy turns everything upside down and inside out, and wants us to believe in a false reality of some kind, this would be the biggest piece of that puzzle, wouldn't it? If the Earth is actually inside.
Oh, yeah.
And it would prove God exists, essentially, as well, and planets aren't real.
I'll have to look this up, or maybe somebody else out there can, but somebody put an album up called This Inverted World or something. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, he's the only one kind of selling this idea, but he doesn't touch on any other conspiracies. He just kind of literally says this over and over again, religiously, every day, every hour of the day. It
could almost be another David Icke thing, like David Icke. I think the reptilian thing is his deception. You know what I mean? Hey, we had someone calling in, but they stopped. Yeah, the reptilian thing is his deception. You know me, I think it's more related to the fallen angels and Noah and all this stuff, but go ahead.
No, yeah, of course. But I'm saying that aside now, in the sense of just this one theory alone, that's all he perpetuates, but he attaches to it his character, I am God, as well, by the way. The Earth's not just inside out. I'm God, and you also have to follow me and receive this mark. Now, what is the story that we repeatedly see in media is that we have to receive this mark secretly, and everyone's got theories that it could be this chip, or whatever. But the idea is, it's the same story. We have another character claiming to be God, which is the whole New Age idea and that satanic idea, and saying you need to get a mark. And also, it seems like he's attached some idea to it that could be true. I'm not going to say the Earth is inside out or not. I don't know. Really, I've not been to space, realistically. But it's kind of... it wasn't the theory that annoyed me, it's that he would attach himself to it, which kind of is not the spirit of real research in this culture. So
did he ever get mad?
It seemed like an occultic act to me. It's the same story we see in films, but on a really small scale with this one character doing it. And I think I proved that with my video, that he is aligned to the same agenda every other media whore is out there who wants to sell this idea of, getting
all of them, man. Russell Brand's a big one, too. I've been meaning to do a big video on Russell Brand. I've got all this different stuff, but he's another one, He's coming off with this New Age religion stuff and this Antichrist stuff and all that, and he was trying to be this freedom fighter, and all these people bought it for a while. He did do some brilliant stuff when he was on some of those news shows. He really busted some people down. It was really good, but then you see the other side. You see all the symbolism he uses and all the other antics he gets involved with,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Round Saturn's Eye, have you seen his channel? You mentioned him, you know him, yeah? He used to a few times, saying, I want to cause as much mayhem as possible. And I remember when he did that interview, and he had that interview with Paxman, and kind of, I don't know if you've seen it.
Not that one, no. I actually need to watch that. I feel bad. I usually watch his videos. If
you watch that, his interview with Paxman, it will basically outline his entire agenda right there. That's what he does. And it's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that on such a serious show in the UK. Such outlandish, left-wing, socialist ideals, to kind of just to this ultra left, calling for revolution. And I can't imagine what sort of seeds that has planted in the minds of those who followed him. Just like he did all these harmless things at the beginning, like hosting Big Brother, which is already questionable. And then suddenly he's now on a platform calling for revolution. It's kind of... And also, wasn't he going out with Natalie Portman or something? No, that wasn't Natalie Portman. That was Devendra Banhart.
Katy Perry.
He was high-end people, wasn't he? He's been going out with
Katy Perry was the big one, and even with that one, there's some weird stuff there.
The thing is, there's an artist called Devendra Banhart, musician, who looks just like him. And that's why I got confused. And he went out with Natalie Portman, and he's a new age musician. Very. Oh,
I've seen that guy. He's been in some sitcoms out there in Great Britain, hadn't he?
What, Devendra Banhart?
Yeah.
I think he's more in America. He lives in America, I think. I don't think
my bad. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of somebody else, man. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is he's a musician who kind of has the same long black hair and beard, and seems to follow the same mentality of new age ideals. Just like Russell Brand is covered in these tattoos of the sacred geometry all over him, and just like this, Devendra Banhart is also obsessed with sacred geometry and this same alignment. It's kind of this guy with this similar outlook goes out with Katy Perry, and Devendra Banhart somehow goes out with Natalie Portman. This Israeli.
They're this the same coven.
You see a connection here, don't you? With this style, this fashion, this character they're playing, and they seem to have the same weird character. So that seems like a very occult practice. It seems like they're taking on a role of some kind of strange being that has this ultra left-wing hippie vibe, and it's so I'm seeing consistencies in characters in the art industry, basically, which is very strange. I don't know if they're just copying each other because it's fashion, or they maybe intentionally. I
don't know, man. I think a lot of it too is part of the awakening that's taking place. At the time of 2012, December 21st, I was in Austin in a house with a whole bunch of people. It was a cool place to live, but one of the guys living there was really big into the December 21st thing. Thought all this stuff was going to change, and of course it came and went and nothing really happened. But a lot of people do believe that it may have been close to like a marker, if you will, of kind of the awakening, like people really activating and getting into uncovering the truth on all different levels, right? And same with darkness, it being revealed more and more. So I've done a lot of stuff on that myself with this is why this stuff's becoming so much easier to see. All the Satanism stuff, all that stuff. It's all coming out, man, more and more. And then on the other side, the light, people are like, they're waking up, and they're getting it. It's like it's all happening now. It's very exciting.
It's kind of, we're seeing a cultic revealing of themselves, though. They are not hiding it very well anymore, is what I'm saying. It seems pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think Fritz Springmeier. Do you know who Fritz Springmeier is?
No, I can't say that.
So he wrote a bunch of books a long time ago on Illuminati type stuff, really good research there, but I think he's the one that coined the term revelation of the method. I could be wrong, maybe it was Blavatsky or one of them, but that there is definitely a side of that where they need to reveal themselves, sometimes before, but you're right, it's on a different level now. So we're all playing our part, but at the same time, it's just all of it has to manifest. You know what I mean? It's all happening now, So the more we, quote, uncover things and reveal things, the more they're just going to start coming out and being real with it. And we're seeing that, my home state of Oklahoma, where I'm originally from, is constantly under some kind of weird attack lately. Like, they've had tons of earthquakes. They had the Satanists wanting to build a Baphomet statue out there with children on it.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, now there's another thing going on out there. They're wanting to do a satanic black mass out there. So it's like, and it's considered the heartland of America, man. I mean, really good. I've lived all over in America now, but really good people in the Midwest out there. Love Oklahoma, good people. But it's under a spiritual attack, so I think it's just a kind of a mirror, and as above, so below.
The Guidestones in America, exactly?
No, the Guidestones are in Georgia.
Which part of America is that, really?
Oh, which part? That's kind of south, kind of southeast, I guess, yeah. Georgia would be a little more eastern. And I think it's Elberton, Georgia, that you can find the Guidestones.
It's just that's just another example of satanic monuments.
Totally.
Ritual.
Totally. I just did a video on Illuminati celebrities that found Jesus, and that was on the other channel, a KJ channel. But on that one, even just researching that and looking stuff up, I found a connection with Lady Gaga where she's talking about the Georgia Guidestones and saying that that is going to be basically the new commandments. A lot of her little monsters are going to have to go away before the great whatever. It's crazy stuff.
Well, on the Guidestones, this is the thing about Stephen. He mentioned a lot of those things he wanted to usher in. It's kind of incredible. And now,
see, there you go.
The one he denied was, I don't want them to be 500 million people. I want more. But the thing is, in his paradigm, 500 million people will still die. Will only still be left in his idea because not everyone's going to accept his mark. You know what I mean? So he was still occultically saying the same thing, esoterically. His answer still confirmed his beliefs that that many people needed to die.
Well, there's so many of these people rising up. We're seeing them all over the place. So many of these fake Christs. Yeah,
it's like they've really got. I think Stephen has a past which is very, very dark. I've heard people say that he's had a really troubled past. I'm not sure. I've heard rumours of something terrible may have happened to him. I don't want to say what it is, but just assume that it's bad.
He looked to me, though, like, if ever there was some kind of a CIA op or something, I'm not saying he is, but he looked that way. I'm ex-military myself. People tell me I look like a cop. People ask me what I look like. I'm told I look like a cop. Okay, I don't know what that means, but this guy looks like a cop, and I mean hardcore. I mean, looks like he's really big. He's works out and stuff. So I don't know, man. The whole thing was weird about him.
Yeah, he's a very, very dark character. He's all in the eyes. He's not trustworthy. I've had a lot of backlash after making this video. A lot of people have come at me, kind of his followers, his devoted fans, and I've dealt with it in a funny way, the best I could. I wasn't offensive, but that's why I made that video quite quickly, just to prove what I'm saying, because I made a lot of allegations that I needed to back up in the initial interview, which is like an hour long, but I've selected the bits I thought were more important, which kind of showed his intentions for my video, the review afterwards.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is a miracle. It actually, I say miracle now. It worked because there was this character called Rupert Nielsen who I've literally just been on the phone with for an hour before coming onto the show when you rang me. I just literally one conversation to the other. And you can see the comments on the videos, it's quite fresh, but he basically attacked me saying, "What's wrong with you?" Really said some stuff. And he didn't realise I'd already made this response video. And he watched it. And then instantly messaged me saying, "Oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, how did I not see this?" Basically, and it's the stuff that seems simple to us. It's not to others who aren't realizing these things or don't know the knowledge yet. Do you know what I mean? And this was someone like that who kind of showed a lot of stuff they probably hadn't thought about yet, and really believed this man was something important, And he was onto something because of the weight that held with the fear with his theory, And they sort of latched onto him because all he ever talks about is the one theory. They don't really give them. He didn't give his fans anything else to think about. And he showed me a conversation he had with Stephen literally after watching my video, and Stephen basically told him to go away and really rejected him outright and refused to answer any questions based on the knowledge he just learned from my video.
Paul, see, man, let me just quickly say, too, and I mean, and I'm sure some people get it out there, but just in case, I want to just nail the point. But that's why, again, I am a fan of yours. I really appreciate what you do. I appreciate you're a fan of mine. It's awesome. We're friends. We'll do this again sometime. But, man, You're doing good work. That's what keeps me going on my channel. I've got some ads on some of my videos, but it's not about that. It really is. It's about messages where I can tell I've made a difference and people are waking up. And I'm doing my bit. All of us we're trying. But man, that's good work, man. You may not even be that much into the so-called spiritual side yet. You're on your way. You're on your journey, and I love it. But it's like you might be saving souls here, man. I'm telling you. So just keep it going.
I don't want to flatter myself too much. I don't know. Why wouldn't I do? It's something I've always done. I don't see why. It doesn't feel like I've done anything special.
Well, just keep that humble spirit. I like that too.
It's kind of obvious to me what this man was. It doesn't feel. I best to be modest here. I didn't really. I forget how much. I know a lot about the occult, I guess. So I saw through this guy's rules really easily. It literally took me 3 days to find all the evidence to prove what I was saying. It wasn't difficult.
Do you have your eyes on anybody else? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I can't say I do. that was just something I needed to get off my chest after starting up this channel again, because I've been away for 3 months. A lot of the stuff I made was quite early. The initial videos I've made were kind of when I made in university, and they still hit on points. I got involved with an activist group of chemtrail activists in the UK who had a group on Facebook, and it was kind of my first. The chemtrails were one of the first theories I'd really came across, to be honest, other than the occult, which kind of hit me hard because I could see them, and it was this thing I had to kind of understand. It was really difficult to fathom that the sky was that big and they could control it so easily, But I met these characters who were really going into the streets and selling chemtrails to the public. And I filmed them, I'm interviewing people in the streets. It's all in that video. It's like about 13 minutes long. And it's me understanding, and you can really see where I started to learn what I was up against here and what the culture really was. And I saw some flaws in the culture. Not that it was people were doing anything wrong with intent initially, but it's kind of the presentation of people's work online was really pushing people away, and it wasn't actually making them want to listen. So it's kind of an artistic critique initially of conspiracy. That's what those videos are, like early stuff. But now I've learned everything now practically, and it's come to the point where I think I have a good image of what's going on now. And I've realised the critique wasn't necessary to that extent. I realised I need to critique these characters, people like Stephen. I've realised what works for some may not work for others, and my aim is to try and get to those who have more of a scientific mind than a creative mind. And I know that character, I know how they think, and I think I can be that middleman to those sort of people.
For sure, man, and you're also never going to run out of shills. You're never going to run out of people to go after if you ever wanted to do that again. I'm sure.
I may not ever get an interview with them ever again though, because they might catch on to what I'm doing. But
you could be kind of the Jerry Springer of conspiracies. No, we wouldn't want that.
I'm not in it to trap people. I don't want to see people think I'm going to do that. It was literally just this one guy, this Lord Stephen Christ, I could see was kind of... He was saying what you shouldn't say. I know I shouldn't think that way because everything should be able to say, but it's the biggest taboo in our culture to call yourself God in the West. It just is.
Sure.
You don't say that. But in the East, it's quite different. In the Hindu religion, if a man says, I'm God, the other guy says, oh, well done, you finally figured it out. It's a different paradigm. But I understood he was going to cause a lot of trouble saying that here, in a sense of misleading people. I could see a satanic intent. It wasn't for their benefit, It was to fuel his ego more than anything, sadly. But what it does, it serves to tarnish our image, people like this. It makes them think we're all like that when they come across him for the first time. And then they won't
absolutely.
Find truth, will they? And I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was fair. I didn't like the idea that this culture I'm going to be a part of, I have to deal with this. So
well, I want to ask you... I'm sorry, Paul. I also wanted to ask you, though, is, sometimes these quote conspiracies or whatever, they choose us, a lot of times my videos choose me, I feel like. Is there anything choosing you? Like, what is, out of all the subjects you're uncovering and discovering, what are you mostly pulled towards right now?
Oh, God, man, that's such a tough question. It's the philosophy of conspiracy. I'm not going to lie. I get quite deep on these things, but I think there's a lot of... it's not a perfect idea yet. We make a lot of mistakes too. We've got a lot of things wrong in the past that we should apologize for. A lot of conspiracy theories are saying the world was going to end. We have a lot of trust to regain, And I guess that's kind of what I want to try and bring to the attention of our culture more than just the people out there trying to find new information. It's time to start reflecting on ourselves and what... conspiracy has really given so far, and to review, I suppose, is something I want to focus on. It's like maybe a side project, but I'm going to have some fun videos where I am just talking about conspiracies, and the ins and outs of them. I think I might make an instructional video that's kind of how to research conspiracy effectively and not fall for these traps.
Good for you, and I think you mentioned this earlier too. You do plan on putting energy into the channel and really building it and using this as kind of your art platform as well. Is that right?
Well. No, the art's just there. I've always been an artist. I don't make money off it. It's just something I do. But because I've got a degree in art, I know how to put on exhibitions if the future ever comes. Right now, I'm not really thinking about that. But it's kind of, I'm going to generate a lot of content by being involved in this. Something I really want to be involved with because I believe, in the whole conspiracy. So it's kind of, yeah. So I have to kind of do something with it creative because I know how. I mean, I can get galleries, I can put on exhibitions, I can get funding. I know how these things work. So it's kind of once they get enough content generated on this channel, you know, and I think I've tackled enough situations like Stephen, maybe on a future video of mine, a DVD perhaps as an example or a case study. Hopefully more things like that will come my way. I think I'll find them as I go along, you know, because I'm looking for it. And then maybe make films, you know, and then try and get this to a wider audience in a way that's interesting, you know, but they can look at it from so many angles. That's more from our perspective, so they can feel what we're feeling while researching it rather than just react with fear.
I like that. I'm right there. I'm like right there with you, and that is the sign of an artist. At least one of them to me is that you want to continue to evolve your work. You know, I like that. I'm the same way.
Well, I don't know when you begin or start without you. I don't know. It's a difficult question. Now I'm not trying to be pretentious with this, but I just.
No, of course not.
I guess I've learned through like more Eastern ideas that there's art in a lot of things. It's not just creating symbols.
Well, I'm going to kind of shift it. I wanted to shift it over a little bit and ask you this, though, too, while I still have some time with you. We got about 20 minutes, and it's already going by fast, which is always a good sign to me, man. I'm loving listening to you. But I want to ask you, with the whole awakening thing on the personal, how is it with, like, family and friends, girlfriends, whatever out there? Are they receptive? Are they cool? Or do you feel, you know, alone and all that?
No, very, very valid question. So these are the sort of things I want to tackle too and talk with more. These are the type of questions they ask on my channel, you know, so people can learn just what it's like. And yeah, it is. I assume I went through the same process everyone went through, trying to tell this to your mum and dad, and them just not listening at all because it's just they're comfortable with the world they've got, and it's kind of that sort of mentality, you know. And I've come to terms with that, and see, I guess I'm a little bit different because now I've found a way to kind of talk about it with people so they don't freak out because I've been working on it. So a lot of people are quite receptive to it now. But I think a lot of people are waking up to it, like you say, so they are looking for more answers anyway and more willing to listen. I'm finding it I'm finding it much easier to talk about these things now because I think people are seeing it's all getting a little bit crazy and they want more. They're finally interested in the narrative is what I'm saying. Because, things are going down now all over the world and the news is screaming a lot of scary stories at this particular moment in time, and it all seems a little bit on the knife edge. So I think a lot of people are listening, their ears are open because they're scared. So I find it easier now, but in the past it has been difficult, and I guess I've gone through the motions of figuring out when to say things and when not to say things.
Yeah, years ago when I first kind of got into this, a long time ago, like almost 7-8 years ago now, but when I first kind of had my awakening, I mean, I actually lost some friends throughout the years there, you know, that I had for a while that just were not on board. But at the same time, looking back, you know, I knew I was different. I was becoming different, you know. I mean, it was hard. Like, I really went through the 5 stages of grief and all that stuff on my own. And it's hard to tell friends that kind of stuff, you know. So that's kind of why I made my movie a long time ago, and why eventually I do what I do now, just like you. You know, you got to get it out to somebody, and that's why our audience is so important to us, you know, because we're connecting. We know that other people are out there understanding.
Well, without the audience, there wouldn't really be us, so we wouldn't do it. You know, I guess it's a little bit Zen, you know, it's a little bit cheesy, but it's kind of, we can't have one without the other, and I think that's a lot of what this comes down to at the end of the day, a lot of this propaganda and the duality of this world. But I'm glad I'm on this side. I'm glad I've aligned to the side where I want to kind of help rather than, you know, live in fear about
destroy.
This. Yeah, exactly. I don't feel like I've chosen to do this. It kind of just comes naturally, I suppose. I don't even know. It's I don't feel like, because I've had quite a lot of people around me. I've always had quite a lot of different friend groups because of the lifestyle I lead, just doing these things as art. But people kind of expect me to say these things. I can get away with it because I am an artist. Do you get what I mean? If the artist can't say this, then who can? You know, the people expect me to be that guy who's, you know, smoking weed or doing psychedelics or talking about psychedelics because it's just an artist, you know, whatever. It's a stereotype that I'm riding so I can talk about these things. I'm taking it seriously, you know. I've realised I can talk about this, so why not? It's that kind of idea. And,
let me ask you, if you could interview anybody, who would you personally interview?
If I could interview anybody, dead or alive?
Yeah, why not? How about dead and alive?
If I could interview anyone dead, it would be Alan Watts. He was a fascinating
Oh
man.
yeah, love Alan Watts. Yeah.
Fascinating man. I've listened to almost everything he's done, and I guess he's actually helped me go through conspiracy and deal with it, with his philosophies and how to view life. You know, it helps you cope with the fear a little bit more. And I wouldn't deny Alan Watts' philosophies, because it's not Zen. He's just talking about Zen ideas. And
Yeah, he was a brilliant philosopher.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. So he, I could interview him dead. But alive, honestly, KJ, I couldn't say. I mean, I'm just happy to be talking with you. I didn't think.
Ah, shucks. Thanks, man.
I'm serious. I mean, you're a big player in this game. I think a lot of people have learned most of their information from your channel. And a lot of people have inspired to make more channels from your channel. I think you probably are one of the major starters of this culture. You'll go down in the history books if it goes on for long enough. So I guess I'm flattered to talk with you.
Well, man, you got me turning all red. But seriously, though, thanks, man.
I was like, I'm kissing your ass, man.
No. And I'm the same way when I was telling you the same. I think it's just a great mutual respect, and it's sincere. So thank you, man.
Well, I didn't think it'd be so easy to be able to talk with someone like a character like yourself. I didn't think it's. I say easy. I've done a lot of work, I guess, but I forget that. I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just, in real life, I mean, we all this stuff affects people differently. But what it's done for me is that I literally see me as having one foot in this world and one foot in the ethereal. And maybe that's the Pisces in me. I don't know. But I always feel like I've got one foot out of this, so I don't even take much of this life seriously. I try to just take it easy. I enjoy my time. I enjoy my work. I love making my videos. I fish. I hang out with friends. You do the thing. I try to live my life and try not. In fact, in real life, sometimes I don't like talking about this stuff. It depends on who I'm around. You know what I mean? Because I really put so much into it.
I was saying, but this life is completely separate from my real life, I guess. I say real life, it's the fake. It's my persona. It's the person, it's the mask I put on, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess on the same token, though, people would say I'm eccentric. I am definitely, in real life, I'm very eccentric. I've lived in a lot of places and done a lot of random jobs, and I'm not done yet. I'm looking at leaving the country within a year.
Yeah, well, you got to be yourself. You got to stay true to your own character. And I do. I'm pretty consistent. I'm pretty much like this with everybody. It doesn't matter.
Well, I may be coming out there sometime too, so we'll have to get all of our friends in England out there together. I think Round Saturn's Eye is out there somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's in England, I believe. I don't know where. I've actually
city.
met him, but he never got back to me in the end. I don't know if he didn't really know who I was and what my intent was or anything at all, so I don't know how he would take me, but I respect his work, man. He's taught me a lot about the Christian symbolism. I really understand it more now and what it really means. It's quite incredible, really.
Man, I'm glad you like him too. Yeah, he's really, really strong with what he's doing and a very unique voice, and that's something I'm always very interested also is unique voices, because there's a lot of, all of us have done it. There's a lot of recycling with a lot of these conspiracy stories. There's a lot of kind of Illuminati conspiracy bottom feeders out there, so to speak. Although at times in my life when I started off, I probably was one of them too. So, I can't, no hate in here or anything, but that's why where I'm at now, man, I'm looking for the truth, no matter what it is, and then secondly, I'm looking for the way it's presented.
That's what I'm saying, KJ. That's exactly what I'm saying with my channel. It's all about presentation. We have to start thinking about that as a culture now, because I think we've got our act together. We know all the secrets, really. We now need to get together to pronounce it better and present it better as a team, because there's so many great channels out there making such great things, and we're all working alone essentially. Why it's time to work together, so we can do better with this, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people trying to pull together more and more, and and that's good. Although on the other hand, with me though, I've always been a little bit skeptical of just big groups, even in real life. I don't like being a part of things, even though I was in the military and all that. I don't like. I just like kind of doing my own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be a group. Because we're still living so far away from each other, So it's not like we actually are a group of people who have a force to that extent. But it's kind of more communication,
Absolutely.
Because we all study different fields as well. People don't always study the same thing in this conspiracy and present very different information in very different, equally as important places, And we can't all talk about the same thing. And I think it's interesting if we can start cross-referencing our information together. And it might be interesting I know it sounds ridiculous, but when I say culture, I'm saying we have fans, like people tune in at the end of the day to see what the latest conspiracy is. That's how this stuff works, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think it'd be interesting for them to see two channels have an interview somewhere where they their ideas.
Yeah.
You know, it's entertainment, it's art, man. And there's no reason why we can't use their tactics to our advantage. You know.
Well, you know, Free Radio Revolution and Red Pill have a show. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they're doing so they're getting it out there, and seems like I've seen other people starting up stuff too. So, and that's cool, man. You know, I mean, the more the merrier, as long as we're all really, you know, it's part of the connecting thing, which I think is just going to happen naturally anyway, and it already is. Even now, like I look forward to having you interview me, man. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I've never done that, just one-on-one, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
but
well, it's just like with Dazzling One. Listen to that conversation, and you'll hear how it works, and it's very calm. It's like listening to the radio, but two people talking about a topic you're both interested in. Everyone's interested in this culture. You know, all topics can come in and out of the conversation. It's just a back and forth, but it's that comfort that comes with it. There's no agenda to the conversation.
I guess we got about 9 minutes or so left. In that time, anything you want to just kind of talk about specifically? I mean, your art or any other topics you want to cover? Anything, man?
I talked about this with Dazzling One earlier today. I had an interview again with her, which I've just uploaded, fully enough. I've been talking to a lot of people today online. It's incredible. Really. It's been an interesting day. But the one thing I like to humour on is this. So what do you think of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Oh, me?
Yeah, very interesting, strange.
Well, yeah, I found some weird connections there. I even found this weird story with Justin Bieber a while back. It was a big deal that he was going out to get baptized, but they weren't calling it a baptism. They were calling it a cleansing ritual, and this happened about a month or so before this whole thing started. And then there's some people who have done some other work out there on it where it's almost like mimicking the baptism. So we've got a lot of interesting symbolism there. But at the end of the day, I think it's all bull blank. You know, like I would never do that. It's also just showing all the, to me, it's showing all the people that are still plugged in, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible. I think Dazzling One phrased it as you're essentially torturing yourself out of free will while being baptized. It's through torture. It's kind of ice water is not pleasant, you know, it's that kind of idea. It's willingly torturing yourself as a sacrifice of money to some charity as well, which has very questionable intentions. And it's kind of this mass baptism ritual. But what really got me, and I talked about this in 2001, is this kind of we've never seen this before. This kind of behaviour in humans. I think the beginning in the UK was something called neck nominate, where you'd nominate however many people to neck a pint, and you'd film it and put it on Facebook, you know. And a pint of lager or beer, I don't know what you call it yourself, but it's kind of this, you'll just drink it as fast as possible and then do something stupid or crazy or whatever you can think of, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you nominate people. And then all of a sudden, from that format, I see crop up 6 months later this, I nominate to pour water on ice water on me. And it's kind of it was this mass ritual suddenly happening through this new method. And it's kind of, I saw, oh my God, these people are doing it as well. And they have no idea why they were doing it, really. They heard the words ALS or whatever. It's some charity. It's charity, isn't it? So it's got to be good.
Yeah, man. And that's why I try not to use the word like sheeple, and I try not to talk down so much, you know. But that's essentially what it is it's just a big display of the sheeple, and we get it, and what's really messed up is the elite get it. So it's like they get it, and then some of us get it, and everyone else is doing it, you know?
Yeah, it's just, I think it, yeah, I'm not attacking people who do it. I know they have good intentions, so it's not their fault.
Some do, yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's a good point. Let's put that out there, but
maybe some people
absolutely.
like being dumped with ice water, and maybe it is fun, it brings people together, I guess. There's all those arguments you can make for it. But symbolically, as an occultist here, you know, if you want to take it as an occultist perspective, it's pretty satanic stuff, you know. You're baptizing yourself with ice water, pretty much a gallon of it, which is very dangerous when you think about it. You're torturing yourself, and it's a mass ritual and everyone's doing it all at once. And then you all talk about it and you all feel like you're a part of something, which is very in the flesh. But you all have this spiritual feeling of communion because you all talk about, did you do it yet? And it's very dark, all of it's very dark. It's very asserting of the flesh, isn't it? It's very, it asserts being here in reality in this world where we have to battle things like Lou Gehrig's disease. Yeah, it's
And I sometimes even see things like that as if you will, the people at the very top of the pyramid that really are witches, warlocks, and the like, so to speak. I even sometimes wonder if they set these rituals up as almost a middle finger to God. It's like on one level, I think a lot of it's stuff like that as well.
it seems something like that. It's a blasphemy to God, if you want to phrase it in a Christian way. I guess it's definitely a bastardization, isn't it? It's not. It's not good anyway. I did take part in that. And why would you want to? It didn't look pleasant to me, so I don't know.
Paul, where can people find your work again? Just I'll let you tell them. Where's the places we can find your work?
If you want to get to my channel, it's just www.youtube.com/uconspiracy. So the letter U conspiracy, all one thing. So /U conspiracy, and you'll get to it. Or maybe just Google understanding conspiracy, and you'll probably find it eventually. And I have a blog, which is just paulanthonystobbs.blogspot.com, or maybe .co.uk. But just as easy, you can just Google Paul Anthony Stobbs, and it'll be there. It's pretty much at the top, I think. I don't think anyone else has my name. I don't know. It doesn't seem that way anyway, so it's very strange. But Google Paul Stobbs, and you'll pretty much find everything. My symbol is the yin and yang. I drew all these things myself, so everything on the blog is completely my work. I don't rip anything off.
Right. And for the record, he is not a secret Illuminati, Freemason, Jesuit that's making these symbols or anything. Okay, I think Paul's one of the good guys.
Yeah, it's just something I did while I was studying the occult, because I was in university, so I had to produce something to prove I was doing art. And it interests me, and I think I learned a lot doing it. I'm not going to deny it didn't teach me a lot about the nature of this design. It's very interesting. But
absolutely,
where my faith lies is a completely different question. So don't confuse those.
No, man, no, not at all. And I'm just glad that you're willing to walk a path and be open to all the things that are going to come to you, because I believe no matter what, if people genuinely seek truth, whatever they see it as, they're going to get it. And I know what the ultimate truth is in my mind. So that's just me, man. But either way, it's been a pleasure. Seriously, man. It's really great to meet you. We'll be talking again soon. Just hit me up sometime. And, man, I think you already put it out there and where we can find your work. Back to the interview bit, too. Folks out there, please check out Paul's channel. Watch the interview. Watch all of his videos. I'm going to be doing the same over the next few days. I'll put links to his channel actually underneath this whenever I put it up on my channel, The Scariest Movie Ever. So in closing, anything else, Paul, you'd like to leave us with?
Just check out the interview with Stephen. It's Lord Stephen Christ. I think that's the most entertaining thing I've done so far. And listen to the second half too, where I reviewed it. And literally, I had to make that within hours of making the other video just to very quickly prove what I did. So I'm very impressed with what I did myself. I can't believe I did it in time. It seems like I did it just in time as well, because I started getting a lot of hate just before that came out. So check that out. But that's all right, man. KJ, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. Thank you for this.
Paul, you're welcome, man. Nice talking to you. I'll let you go for now, but I'll talk to you soon. Take care, my friend. All right, guys. Hey, that was Paul Stobbs right there with Understanding Conspiracy. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into some commercials here, a little bit of music, and we will be back here in just a few minutes with our friend Michael from ShieldoftheSon. And he's got something very interesting to talk about with us tonight. So we'll be right back, guys. Thanks. Hang in there with us.
United States and internationally. An estimate 26.2% of Americans ages 18 and older suffer from some sort of mental illness. Now, this figure translates to 57.7 million people who suffer from some sort of mental breakdown. If you find yourself laying in bed on a Sunday night, hearing voices while you're trying to sleep, well, it might not be the demonic being from another dimension trying to kill you where you sleep. It might just be your mental illness starting to kick in. So if you're out of meds for the night, then I have just the thing. Come listen to my show, The Jackal's Head. You can check out our Listen Live page only on www.psn-radio.com. See you there. This ad has been paid for by The Jackal's Head and the War on Terror.
War. It's fantastic.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
All systems are functional.
And get past the range to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
Who's your favorite superhero?
My name is Steve Eunice from SupermanHomepage.com.
And now I'm a voice inside the Jackal's head.
And who makes them look that cool?
Hey, this is Mark McKenna here. I'm a comic book artist for 25 years for Marvel and DC Comics, and I'm a voice inside the Jackal's head.
Only on PSN Radio.
Okay, folks, let's see. Can you hear us now? I think you can. Okay, now we're back. There we go. Let me check with my chat room real quick here. Michael, you still there with me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let me see. Can you hear us? Can you hear us out there, folks, in the chat room? Okay, cool. Thank you very much, guys. Hey, man, you know, it wouldn't be my show if there wasn't some kind of technical difficulty, and that's, who knows where that's coming from? I'm telling you, it's always, I don't think it's on my station's end or anything like that. It's always something. But let's move on, because I've got a very good friend here back with us. This is Michael from ShieldoftheSon. It's always a pleasure to talk with him. I needed to have Michael back because I had him on a few weeks ago. Some of you listening live may have heard that, but even that whole show got corrupted and stuff, and I wasn't able to upload it. So here we are again. He's got a cool story to get into with us about Russia. I'm just going to let Michael go, and we'll just kind of take it from there. First off, Michael, hi. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, man. It's good to have you. Please, man, just take the floor. Go for it. Talk to us about Russia. What'd you find?
Well, that was the documentary that I brought up last. And basically what the do in the Russian documentary was, it was a documentary based on Admiral Byrd's mission, which was called Operation High Jump. And a lot of people are not very familiar about this particular mission or why we ended up going to Antarctica. And on the surface, we were told in our history books that we were a scientific expedition. But in Russia, they released a documentary about, I believe it was about maybe 10 years ago, where it exposed the real reality behind Operation High Jump. That there was concrete evidence that we actually went into Antarctica because the Nazis had built a base. But this base wasn't about a military depot, but it was more based in the beliefs of Hitler. Hitler's beliefs came from the Thule Society, and in that society there was some very deep satanic worship that went on there. And this is some ancient stuff that they went into. There were two witches that got possessed during a meeting, and one of the witches conversed a spirit through her, which we would know in the Bible to be demonic possession, which resulted in her writing out a blueprint, first about an electrogravity ship, and second about finding entrance to the Hollow Earth, where she would then pick the leader of the Nazi party, who was Hitler. And they took what these two witches said so seriously that they gave Hitler this head spot. And if we fast forward after World War II, what culminated during the war was Hitler building Antarctica. This was factual evidence. And Russian documentary shows are the radio transmissions to what they recorded, which showed that Admiral Byrd's mission wasn't scientific, but it was a military mission, a military expedition and operation to retrieve ancient technology from Antarctica and secure the base. Well, when they were in there for several months. They lost battle after an 8-week fight. It did culminate to learning more, but then understanding that there is literally a shadow government that's been going on that does pull the strings of nations and even exist in very isolated spots. The Russian documentary was prohibited from being shown in America because the evidence was too damaging to the fact that we went under the pretenses because we thought Hitler could still be alive and half the Nazi party missing. A lot of people don't know is that after the Nazis were defeated, we did Operation Paperclip, and it's believed that we took half the scientists and Russia took the other half. And though that is true, there were still 250,000 Nazi scientists and personnel missing who are unaccounted for and were never found. We also have 6 submarines that are missing, and we also have other projects that have been buried and missing. And these projects often center around Hitler conversing with what are known as hyperdimensional beings. This is facts that are documented in their archives and in their history, but it's never been taught. It's never been taught here. The importance is to learn exactly how things happened and how it transpired. And that was really the importance of telling people
Michael,
about that documentary.
I want to ask you, too, just on that note, and this is what's actually take us into a new subject here a little bit, but I recently did a video myself on the movie Her. It was something I saw in there, and, I see the fallen angel spirits as these aliens. I also call it demons sometimes more of a catch-all for everybody, But do you want to talk a little bit about that, about kind of what's the difference between the demons, fallen angels, you name it? Okay, what do you think?
Well, Genesis 6 actually do the origin behind what demons are. But it's about understanding what the word Nephilim means. Nephilim means a word for spawn or seed, seeds who fall upon others. It's really how that definition was played out. Seed who fall upon others is to indicate what the whole entire text said, that they were the sons of fallen angels. So a demon is different from an angelic spirit. A demon is something that is genetically created. what you would see as gray aliens or reptiles, or reptilians, I should say, and things of that sort. They have a lot of different appearances, and they take on a lot of different shells. But the Bible states that the fallen angels were enabled to take human women, take them, and they bred children with them. But since the fallen angels are not human, it's clear that they bred them through a different way. The Bible also indicates that they did it through wonders, which is what you would know as advanced methods that are in a supernatural way, but also done in a way that is akin to a test tube thing.
Because these were being described by somebody who couldn't fathom things like this, right? That's why, I guess.
Well, it's being described in a way that is to be understood that Moses came from Egypt. And when Moses came from Egypt at a time that they were so powerful, they were already conversing with fallen angels. In fact, they were giving women to them so that they would feed demonic entities who they called their gods in very narrow subterranean passages. And that's been documented in their hieroglyphics.
So what kind of... go ahead.
Well, it seems that Moses didn't really talk much about the past because at the time, everybody knew it. That's the thing. Most people already knew what happened then. So Moses' job was to give them the clear picture of what it is. You see, even people back then believed that those things were aliens, that they came from another world. So he had to remind them of their origin, where they actually came from and why, and what this whole thing is about. So in short, demons are just simply the sons of fallen angels, and they're the result of their craftsmanship, basically.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. And what do you have on what your own research on this? I've seen so many of your videos, but you know how it is when you watch someone's channel, for so long. Sometimes it all kind of bleeds in together. It's still in a good way, But I'm curious about your info on then the people at the top of the pyramid, and everyone has different names, and I just think it's all these groups together, Jesuits, Rosicrucians, whatever, Illuminati, but these people at the very top, you've probably heard of like the Brotherhood of the Fallen. That's another name some of these people use because they're supposed to be 9, I guess, fallen angels, but so we believe, right, that they are really communing with these fallen angel spirits. What information do you have on that?
Well, information is all documented throughout archaeology. It's also documented in the words of leaders themselves who wrote about New Age agendas and their inspiration for it. These people have at times told you who they are. It's just that people don't listen. Let's take archaeology for a minute. In archaeology, we often find that rulers have spoken with gods, gods have given them ideas, and they have translated ideas into the type of empires they had. Now, it's interesting enough because back in that time, they didn't really tell the people they were conversing with actual beings. They just more like told them in a way that you would tell people in faith and church that I've been touched by God, but having really no idea that they were being in actual conversation with them. And we didn't find this stuff out until later. And even to this day, people don't want to take what the rulers said literally. They want to try to find a symbology behind it, even though that's not what they're saying. And the evidence is clear when you see their so-called gods giving them objects, and they translate these objects into actual ships, actual technology, actual building structures, actual symbols, that this is showing they're learning from somebody. When we take what the Bible said about the mystery of iniquity, the Bible told us that what the rulers used to do in the open, they would eventually now do it in the dark. That they would take that hidden world and just make it even more hidden. So now we went from rulers conversing to the gods to rulers conversing with their saints or their ascended masters or their gurus or their, things of this sort, the code words that they age. And in the New Age, they converse with what they call gurus, handlers, things of that sort, who they believe are possessed and in touch. Then if you have the higher rulers, The Bible tells us that higher rulers have instant connection with fallen angels, because fallen angels will only communicate with the soul ruler, the soul controllers of the nations. And how do we know this is because if we look at the way Satan approached Jesus when he offered him the kingdoms of the world, he didn't do that in the presence of everyone. He only did that between him and Jesus. We can see that Satan operates in concealment, but nevertheless he does. If you look at the way the rulers have structured the UN and the globalist movement, if we look at the way they turn the engines, we see that it's the same way the Bible described the way Satan would operate a political system. And they match up accordingly. That it really just shows you that when these political leaders come out and they tell you they believe in Christ, but yet they tell you also that there's all kinds of roads into heaven, that homosexuality is okay, that lying is okay, that war is okay, that bloodshed is okay, when they justify sins and then preach God at the same time, you have to understand that that is a satanic method that is never found with God or godly people or people who supposedly study the Bible. So these people believe in something else, and they often get busted for that. And people have to just see it and realize that, because they're not really hiding it. They are showing you. It's just that people won't connect the dots to the truth about it. They don't want to say what they're doing is satanic when it's clear that it is.
Yeah, there was a really, we've talked, and most people listening to the show know that I had another second channel many months ago now that's been taken away. It was Scariest Movie Ever 111. But anyway, on that channel, eventually I'm going to upload a lot of those old videos, but on there I had a video, and I'd taken a small clip from, I think it's a show called Brad Metzger's Decoded. That is what it's called. He's very suspect anyway. I definitely think, if anything, he's kind of a gatekeeper himself. Plus, it's on History or Discovery, one of those channels. But he did do a really good interview one time. He actually wound up getting this guy that apparently had been a limo driver for some big players or something like that, and he wanted to reveal some weird stuff about their religion. So he met with this guy Metzger, and they talked about it, and that's where I first started hearing about the the Brotherhood of the Fallen, and then I started finding that in other research I was doing unrelated to him. So what do you think about that stuff?
I think that a lot of people are going to find different names for what they want to call the people who control the world. I think that's because of the fact that the people who control the world exist in a lot of different institutions. And because they exist in a lot of different institutions, they're going to naturally exist in different names. It doesn't necessarily mean that, the members of that particular group, are running things. And what it does mean, though, is that they're connected with people who are connected with people who are connected with people who are connected with people. It's a hierarchy. So you have to look at the limits of power each group has, and then make sure that what you hear about a group, if it's accurate information or not. A lot of people will always point to a lot of different groups, but you always have to look at the main groups, and you have to focus your attention on that. You have to focus your attention on groups like the Bilderbergers, Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the Rothschild family, and the Rockefeller, and the Vatican. And the reason why is because every other group that they'll discover and name, no matter if you call them Freemasons or the Fallen, I've heard of the Order of the Serpent, I've heard a lot of them. And some of these groups do exist, and then some of them are not in the way that they think they do. But one thing I've come to learn is that they're all funded and controlled by the groups I just named. They all float back there. Somebody who's the leader of a banking institution turns out to be a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And he just happens to be the leader of the group who has this dual membership. It's all very clear that when we talk about these lower institutions, like Knights of Malta and things of that sort, they're all working for one of the bigger conglomerates and the ones that have been wrecking things for years. In fact, I remember probably about 94, people were telling people about the Council on Foreign Relations, and nobody didn't even know it existed. Everybody thought it was a conspiracy theory and things of that sort, which shocked me because, their address was in the phone book, but people didn't think it existed. And then what happens in the 2000s, this group gets a website and brags more about it, particularly when Bush as president, Obama. And it just becomes very clear that these are the groups you really want to look at. Because if you look at the way they do things, it really explains why you have these other groups out there that seemingly pose a threat. Some of these groups, these lesser groups, could be like a distraction.
It's amazing, too, sometimes how little information some of us need to really see it. I remember when I first kind of started off in all this stuff, I stumbled across a photo, which I've used in several videos since because it's just so darn, right there. But it was Laura Bush, and she's like standing next to, or somewhere out there in the White House garden or something, and she's doing the as above, so below with her hands, pointing up with one and then doing the Baphomet or whatever with the other. It's crazy.
Yeah, she loves Satan, apparently. I'm sure I'm sure me saying that would be like, God, why would you say that? But, she tells people she's a Christian, but yet how can you tell people you're a Christian and do signs like that? And then tell people, no, it's because I love you, but yet you're doing the hermetic pose.
Oh, yeah.
To do a hermetic pose, that means you got to open a book and read, and I'm talking a coven book, a witchcraft book. You got to open that up. You got to look at how the person is posing, and then look at that and understand the reason why. And then you go on, when you wait till a photographer is standing right there when you're getting off. I think she was getting off a plane or a helicopter or something like that. And she's getting off of this thing, and she just stops and does it. And then people go, why are you a Satanist lady? Of course not. That's crazy. But yes, she does this all the time.
Yeah, there's stories on all those. Sorry.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to people who look at that and go, well, it's hard, to believe you're not a Satanist. For me, I believe she is. There's no confusion for me, but for other people, it is.
Absolutely, man. I mean, there's no doubt that she's at least an Eastern Star, and they have probably other names for that stuff. And then, of course, as you rise through the ranks, she's probably the head of some kind of a random coven or something out there for all we know. But there's always stories about the first ladies leaking out that are into this weird mysticism and stuff like that. I remember Hillary Clinton would go talk to Eleanor Roosevelt's spirit on the roof of the White House was the story. There's one.
Yep. She was another one. She used to like to do the little candle ritual thing. I don't know if you know about Adam's wife. She was into that stuff. That was going way back with the so-called second president.
That's interesting.
So that's how old it is, Oh yeah, she was suspected of being involved with voodoo, which was interesting enough. We're talking having slaves who practiced this voodoo who came from Africa, and they were working at the White House at the time in terms of building the White House up and, taking part in this kind of magic religion. A lot of people kind of chalked it up to, well, she's just bored, something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, exactly. Like, wow, that's some pretty serious boredom,
Seriously.
Take part in a voodoo ritual in the White House. Okay. So this stuff has been going on a while. Ronald Reagan's wife, she used to do astrology seances and card readings. She used to invite the people over for that.
The Obama's
wife.
Oh, Jimmy Carter's wife too? Go ahead.
Well, Carter's wife, yeah, she dabbled, and supposedly a dabbler. And, a lot of them, Obama's wife or guy, whatever, could possibly be in that, yeah.
Who knows at this point, right? I mean, anything's possible.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, to tell you the truth. I mean,
Me either.
If Michelle came out and said, "Sorry, I'm a dude," I just wouldn't care, to tell you the truth. I'd just be like,
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't surprise me. You know what I'd really like is for your undocumented husband to step down and, you know, stop screwing this country up. If he wants to be gay with you, fine. Go back to Chicago, go back to Northtown, and knock yourselves out, man. But don't take the whole country down with you. You know, like, seriously, man.
Well
That's
said.
how I feel about that.
No, that's true, man. But there's one thing though that came to mind about them. I think I put it in one of my old videos, but it was either the first time he took the White House or the second time. But an actual coven of witches went out there and swept the sidewalk or whatever of the White House. Did you hear about this or something like that?
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Crazy.
I don't know if you've ever been by Bohemian Grove, like if you ever been over there to do protest.
No.
Oh man, it's filled with witches. Oh,
Really?
Man, you can't. Oh man, every day.
Have you been there?
Oh, we couldn't even go because of the problem of that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like we wanted to have a Christian, you know, protest type of deal where we wanted to go and just, you know, to have some real confrontation and real discussion.
Yeah.
But I was warned. Well, Mike, you know, there's over sometimes 6,000 witches in the area, and most of them surround the barricade, and they do their own protesting like 24/7, which makes it very impossible for a Christian group to want to do their protesting. Then someone told me that it's being done on purpose because the elite doesn't throw them out. They're there every day. It's almost like they're blockers.
See, that'd be worth filming. That's a video right there, man. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean anybody can go and see it. I mean there are spells out there. I mean it's crazy. I mean they're doing this stuff out there, and then they're saying it's political, that they're trying to cast away the evil spells from the leaders to bring white magic into those. Like, oh God, whatever. It's
yeah.
Stupid, so stupid, and it doesn't. They don't get anything done. I mean, it's day after day. They don't get anything done. They look like a bunch of kooks. And then for people who do serious work on this, who are not kidding, you know, I mean, we can't even be near them because it'd be like, you know, association. You know, I don't want people thinking I'm a witch because I'm out here protesting with witches. You know, that's the problem. That's why we don't go.
Are you familiar with Judge Sonia Sotomayor? I think is how you say your name.
No.
She's one of the Supreme Court judges, I think, appointed by Obama during his first term. Sonia Sotomayor is how you say her name. But it came out, was a member of the Belizean Grove, which is another female branch off of the Bohemian Grove. Did you know that?
Okay. That part I did know. I did know that they had a female branch. Well,
yeah.
That female branch is old. I mean, that's been there a while. Like, you know, even with the Masons, at the start of the Masons, you had the Eastern Star, the Masonic order, and you know, it's just that's how they do things. You know, the coven has always been a very segregated thing. You know, you had the men here, the women there, the whites here, the blacks there. You know, they segregate everything. You know, they segregate their eggs if they could. So they do this all the time. You know, it's just something. But you know, a lot of people never heard of a female Bohemian Grove, which is interesting because I bet the most interesting stuff is probably happening there if you never heard of it.
Right.
You know, it's one of the most secretive places. And
a lot of people think that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that. No, go ahead.
I'm so sorry, man. I always have a delay on this end, so I know I sound like a jerk. I feel like I cut y'all off all the time, man. But
don't worry about it.
But no, man, please continue, because the only thing I was going to add is, you know, there are a lot of those schools of thought out there that it's actually this coven of witches that are leading even the guys at the top of the pyramid. So that's one angle with all the goddess worship and stuff.
Yeah, don't believe that. But I can tell you what it actually is, though.
Go ahead.
It is the fact that these women are in touch with fallen angels. And that's been going on since the start. Fallen angels have picked these women to be their messengers. So it is that the guys who run the things are listening to them, but it's not them they're listening to. This is the thing people get confused. These women are speaking for Satan. So at that moment, they're listening to Satan, not to the female. She's just a vehicle, and so they're listening to what she's saying, because what she's saying right now is not her speaking. So they write and keep note and do everything that she's saying if she's the channeler. After that, man, that's it. That's the only use they'll have for them. And
Let me
send
ask
them back
you.
to their coven.
Yeah, let me ask you this, too. With a lot of these shows, I've done videos myself on The View and some of these things. Fun fact, if anybody out there hadn't seen this particular video, if you watch The View in the very beginning, I don't know if they've changed the format or something since I did the video, but they'll actually flip the V, which is already the fifth age coming, which is kind of, some people may say we already have more than a foot in there, but fifth age, and then in between it turns into a pyramid, perfect pyramid with little bricks, and underneath it says the word empower. You got to stop at the right point. But I always wonder with all these shows, with all the lady talk shows especially, there's so many of them, I wonder if that's like a whole kind of coven thing, if like they have to be involved on some level. What do you think about that? And like even game shows and talk shows and stuff. What do you think?
There are a lot of people that can point to the fact that entertainment is steep in Satanism. I got a whole book about it, but that was about the music industry. I'm going to write one about TV. But the thing with the entertainment industry, and when we talk about media, game shows, and things like that, there's always been controversies with that. And if you look back into some of these guys, like Chuck Woolery and all these guys, if you kind of go back into their past, you find things like they visit gurus, or they have supported psychic hotlines, 1-800 hotlines, had sex scandals and swing scandals,
Oh yeah,
like Dick and things like that. If you go back and look at it and look at the reasons why, it's Hollywood New Age stuff where these swingers go and they worship the gods and the gurus get them to do all these sexual stuff, and this stuff is all occult related. So for them, these guys are involved with that stuff. Their lifestyles tell you about it. Their words tell you about it. I mean, I don't know too many Christians that get up and say, I got to see the Guru Rashi and sleep with my neighbor's wife for purification.
Yeah.
I mean, Christians, I'm sorry, but Christians don't do that. So if they're doing that, and I'm sure they're not saying it's satanic. I'm sure they're saying it's New Age, or it's this, or I discovered Buddhism. Whatever it is they're saying to you, if you're a Christian, you should know that what they're saying to you, no matter how they want to put the code on it, is satanic at the end of the day.
Yeah, man, I lived out there near Hollywood there for quite a while, and there's a big Church of Scientology, the Hollywood branch out there. And we shot one of the reality shows I worked on. They shot an episode near it. Like, they're real hardcore about letting you in and all that and what you get to see. It was nearby. But the one thing I noticed is that, because they have all these, it just looked to me like a bunch of young Hollywood hopefuls, like it was kind of peers at the time. We're all kind of in the same spot, I guess. But, these were all the really good-looking ones. It's like they had all these really handsome young guys and beautiful young girls, dressed nice, and they were the ones going out, it seemed like, and walking the streets. So you see them leaving there and stuff and just talking to people out there and passing things out. And I was like, that's so genius. Like, there wasn't an ugly one in the bunch. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know where these people come from, but there was a lot of them. But that was just one example I saw of kind of strangeness out there with religion and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, the women will definitely come out of the nearest plastic religion sponsored by the Church of Scientology for your entertainment. That's what they do. That's how they run Hollywood. It's all run by eye candy. So that's how they grab you in.
And of course, I wonder how much Scientology is just a cover for kind of Satanism, really, or whatever we want to call it, Luciferianism.
Look at the founder. That should tell you.
He was buddies with
Hubbard.
him.
Yeah. That guy was a devout magician, and he learned from Aleister Crowley. And Crowley, as you know, was a proud Satanist. And so this is a guy, L. Ron Hubbard, learned everything he needed to know in terms of being a coven member. And then he took that knowledge and he started Scientology. Scientology is actually based on the magic of Aleister Crowley. That's the part people don't really want to wrap their mind around. L. Ron Hubbard publicly told people that. He wasn't ashamed to tell people that. So, we got a guy like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise often had a a connection with the Church of Satan. And that was something a lot of people didn't know. And when he got into Scientology, his career got bigger. It's the same thing with John Travolta. John Travolta was involved, I think, with a homosexual occult or something like that in the disco scene. And he got, involved with Scientology, and his career was expanded, along with his wife at the time. I think she's still his wife. So there's a lot of guys that were helped by that organization, but that organization was, only accepting people willing to be mind-controlled, brainwashed, and submitted to their beliefs. It's sad.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Sorry, I was just kind of getting lost on that subject with you, but yeah. In fact, I was going to ask you if you know of the Black Child YouTube channel.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So he's done a lot of good work also on kind of deciphering a lot of the symbols even on Russia Today. He's done a lot of good stuff there in one of those programs there, and also kind of talking about the sisterhood with some of these ladies in the entertainment industry and all that. But yeah, even when I'm, if I walk by a TV and I see that stuff on, I'm still always looking for the symbols. I just found a crazy one on a really random show, and it'll be no spoilers here, folks, but it's going to be in a video, and I think people are going to trip out. But it's amazing, I mean, I'm at a place now where I got a television again, but mainly so I can kind of rent movies and stuff like that on there. And I try to stay away from it as much as possible, but again, that's kind of what I do, is sometimes get into the media, then find things. So I can't help but look, and lately I've been looking in some of the strangest places, and I'm finding the weirdest things. I mean, like a lot of these shows about, You Are the Father and stuff like this, and a lot of those kind of like trashy, exploitative shows. There's a lot of weird things happening there, so that'll be a video for the future. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure you can imagine. All those shows to me are full of symbolism,
Totally, yeah. That's a good channel you mentioned, the Black Child channel. He has got some great insight.
He's awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah, good. Yeah. I'm glad you like him too, man. That's cool. Yeah, I've learned a lot from him as well. But how about you, man? What's the latest? Anything new as far as subjects you want to get into? I know your most recent video was a really great message, kind of about keeping your head cool, staying focused on God. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that?
I've been focusing on doing gospel videos in terms of delivering more of the messages from the Word. And I want to focus on doing more videos about like urban issues. So I did this one first because I felt that, I don't know, it was just interesting. Somebody was telling me more about they want to know more about the Word. And because the Word is something that people have trouble with. They don't realize that all their inspiration is in the Word. For everything they're feeling, however the struggle or the aggravation, all their medicine is in the Word. So I've been understanding more and more about people's plight, what they're feeling like. And God's just opening up my heart to that more. And,
man, I love that. I love that message, man. Keep going.
Yeah, just had me go into Scripture, said, you need to say this, so you need to teach that. And so that's what I did. And then when I was teaching it, I just kind of, I don't know, I just felt like, people, there was something there where I knew people were in pain. So I just said that just came out. So I remember watching it back, I haven't watched it back yet. Actually, I'm remembering it back in my head, I should say. I just realized that's a direction I need to focus around, is preaching more biblical messages. Not this, I've been doing that the whole entire time. If you watch from the first to the last video, God is always in my videos. What I'm saying is to aim some videos at a topic of emotions, topic of what people are struggling with, because a lot of people are very much, they need both. They need truth and encouragement. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I feel you on that, man.
Both now. And that's where I'm aiming that at.
Man, that's good. That's a good message, man. That's another reason I'm really glad I was able to get you on tonight specifically, so we could talk a little bit about that, because it is important. I mean, all this other stuff, deciphering our reality, watching this awakening, watching the darkness coming, all this stuff that's happening. It's all fascinating. It's interesting. I'm never going to stop doing what I do. I know you won't either. But I know a lot of us are guilty of this. I know I am too at times, but we're just kind of focusing on the bricks of the New World Order, really, is what it is. But at the very top of it, at the end of it all, we have to look at that. Like, what's the end goal? And that is, let's get back to heaven. Let's get to heaven.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Definitely. Amen. That is the idea. Definitely. Not to let things, blind you from where you're really heading. Because all this information will pass anyway. We're not going to be talking about, the World Government, the UN, demons and just the evil things they love to do. We'll be talking about that in the future. In the future, it'll be a dead issue. And I mean literally a dead issue. So we'll be all right,
No, absolutely, man. Yeah. So, I mean, and with that, how about for anybody out there listening that is curious about this or how to get to know God better, or what kind of advice would you give to somebody that wants to understand but just doesn't know how?
I always tell people you have to go to the Word. It's very important to understand that you have to treat it like it's a real relationship, like you would if you were talking to your brother, like you were talking to your mother, or something like that, someone that you really respect and care about. You have to look at it as a real relationship. And then you got to look at it as the Father is someone that can guide you out of the way you are. You have to face what you are. And then if you can face what you are and confess that, you have to trust that He hears that, and He's going to relate back to you and help you out of being a certain way. So you have to face your weaknesses. I tell people that people like us, we are always combative because we're filled with pride and we're filled with ego. So we're driven in emotion and we're driven by thoughts. We're frustrated quicker. We could take little holes and turn them into mountains. I mean, we can really do some damage, with the way we think. And that's why I tell people, if you can just acknowledge that most of the things you think is just based on anger, it's just based on frustration, it's based on what we can't control, and we give the control to God. That's the whole point, is to take everything you are and send it to God. If people do that more, they can understand the Bible more, because they'll understand themselves better. And then they'll understand that the Bible is so much more bigger than what we're doing, but it has the answers to what we're going through. And that's important to understand.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me just in messages and emails and stuff, and this is just throughout years and whatever, but, how do they know that God's talking to them? That seems to be a question I've got more than once, or how do you know when whatever? And, excuse me. And I tell them that's where the spiritual, if you will, comes in, the trust, the faith. First off, you just have to believe it. You have to understand that it's real and acknowledge that. And then, you need to talk to Jesus, talk to God. I don't know what's best route for anybody, really. I guess it's different for everybody, right? Because I know a lot of Catholics that changed their lives after that and kind of got more into Jesus. And I mean, what would you say? What's the best kind of gateway into it all, if there is one, really?
I would say to be honest with yourself and understand that salvation is not dependent on what you do as regulation or maybe as what you know as a right. Salvation is dependent on faith. It's blind faith at that. So it's really dependent on how well you can believe in something that you can't see. So if you can't see any hope for you, or if you can't see any, way through things, it's usually because of the fact we've allowed other things to blind us from the fact that Jesus is always quicker to forgive us, and we are very slow to forgive ourselves. You see, Catholics and other groups, they often want you to depend on, what you would call as tithing, but it's more like this mortifying of yourself, to really be down on yourself. And Jesus doesn't want that. He wants you to have humility toward what you've done, but to also realize there's hope at the same time. So salvation is a relationship. It's the acknowledgement of God is Savior, Lord, and I'm a sinner, and I have to shed sins and believe in what He has offered. If you commune that way, that is salvation. You've just found it. And then salvation, which is God, leads you to everything else you need. It all starts with just believing. You know, it's not about where you go or who you talk to. It's about going to God with it. That's the best way to put that.
I wanted to ask you too, how are things with the book? How are things going there? And I'd like you to maybe talk a little bit about that as well. This could be the first time people have heard you on here, and I'd like you to kind of cover that, if you don't mind, just a little.
It's going well. I published a book called Shadows of the Music Industry, which was about the music industry artists in terms of their origin, in terms of things that were said of them, involvement with Satanism, the mysterious deaths they've had, the controversies that they went through, the impact that they've made spiritually. I hit all the areas, and I just tell you their story, and I give you who they are. That's been published through Lulu.com, and it's doing very well. I sent another book out, the same book to a distributor to see if I can get more people to buy it, in terms of the fact that I think it's very important for people to have it. You know, I believe that it's an investment not just in themselves, but it's an investment in church and in life, in an understanding that we invest in things that are just pointless, things we don't even need. And it's a way to get people to invest in things that work for them too as well.
Agreed. And also I want to throw this out because I think it's an important point to make, is that there is nothing wrong with putting a charge on some of the work like that on a book or whatever, I mean, it's, you know what I mean? I see that argument a lot. Even it's sometimes putting ads on videos. I know not everyone does it. I do it on some of mine, but I've always been okay with that. I don't see anything wrong with earning, a little bit off of that when all of it is just having somebody wait 5 seconds. I mean, I don't know. Are you with me on this? We can't. I don't think we can be expected. Go ahead.
You go from the word. The word says that the workman is keep. That means you're entitled to that. If somebody wants to invest in you, or if someone wants to give to you, or if someone wants to do that for you, they're perfectly able to do that, and you're perfectly able to accept that. If you're doing work that helps others, then that is not a sin, What it is a sin is to take someone's money and give them crap in return. That's a sin. But if you're giving your time, your effort, and everything you are, the Bible also offers you the allowance to be able to receive. So it's not that you fill yourself up with it or get puffed up on it. It's only a blessing because these are giving to you so that you can give to them. That's what's going on.
I think that's great, man. I think that's a great explanation. And, just for the record out there, I think it only gets kind of weird, like if we start making, KJ bobbleheads or something like that. That's where it's like, okay, wait a second.
Well, no, of course not.
$25 a piece, folks. Yeah, exactly. It'll never be anything like that. I feel you, though, man. I think that's a perfect explanation. I see nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. So you're being blessed for being a teacher, for getting information out there. So why not? Because people pay, over $100. My parents were paying almost $300. They told me a while back for their cable and internet and all that a month. They had every channel you could imagine and everything. But, so people pay a lot of money for that. People pay money for watered down gospels in a lot of these churches. I'm just saying, no offense, not all of them, but a lot of them. And you know what I mean? So why not? Why not?
Well, of course, because, if the church was not giving money to each other, it never would have been able to continue on. A lot of people would have starved. A lot of people would have died. A lot of people would have been able to get a lot of things done. So the Bible teaches you also to use your wealth and use your gift to help others, and that's all it is, And it doesn't mean they're demanded to do that either. It's totally up to them.
Absolutely. And let me throw this out, just because I know we got about 5 minutes or so left here, and kind of speaking on the idea of Christianity is, we know Christian persecution is increasing here in America, even more and more. where do you see that going yourself? I mean, how crazy do you think that we're actually going to see it? Do you think it'll finally get to a point where they're just out in the open and they say we're coming after them?
Well, they won't do that until they've done other things first. The Bible always says to recognize that things were only going to turn from bad to worse when the wicked one's revealed, who's the Antichrist. Right now he's hiding. So while he's hiding, we get to basically enjoy this quiet time before the storm kind of deal. It is, when persecutions actually do start happening, you're going to know it quite instantly. And when it does, just always remember that you have the right to defend yourself. You have the right not to obey stupid laws that go against our, the Constitution, or most importantly, the law of God. Always remember your rights. Remember what you're able to do, what you're unable to do. If someone wants to come into your home and take what's not theirs, you have the right to fight for that, fight for your home, fight for your family. It's all about making sure that you remember that they cannot do the things that they want to do to you unless you let them. And that's the only thing I could tell you. The mark of the beast is really about people making their own choice because they were intimidated into doing it.
Yeah, man.
So that's all I could tell you is we fight this way now, and later on, if they really do that, it will probably be a fight. We'll probably be killed. But either way, it's not about violence. This is all about love, and this is about trust and about truth and about what we've lost sight of. So the way I see persecution in America is a loss of everything that we are and a resortment to living like, old-time militia until we're dusted off in one way or another. We're martyred. We're simply going through what we go through for our faith. But as for time-wise, I don't know. I kind of feel like we have some time still,
Yeah, I do too. I even like when 9/11 was coming up here last week. There wasn't a day I was scared. I felt okay. It's gonna be all right. I just didn't feel anything on that. So. And it's easy nowadays to just start freaking out sometimes with all the weird stuff that comes out. Here's one I wanted to get your take on. We got a few more minutes here, a couple minutes. Did you see that picture that came out on Obama the night he was talking about ISIS with the horns? They look like the Baphomet with the ears and the horns.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What do you think about that, man?
Well, I think that's what he is. Well, okay, I'll be fair. All right. Here's a guy who gets up with this public address. It's hard to say if that's his idea. Okay, stand me right here. Are the horns in place? Perfect. All right, action.
Yeah.
I think it's more like the people around him put him there because he's evil. I mean, I think it's just maybe it's a sign. I think it's. I just think that enough things are known about Obama that tells us the man does have double horns. And when we see things like this, it's kind of like a reminder of, remember who's in the White House and why it's so important to pray. Pray every night, pray every day, because this guy is in the White House, man. I mean, seriously, this guy is behind the Oval Office. This guy's got nuclear codes in his pocket.
And
guy.
Even that, and folks, if you're new to the show, we're also going to throw out there, Bush was no better, okay? I mean, I'm just for the record, it's all the same.
None of them are. I mean, just because this man, okay, came in on the whole civil rights thing and came in on the hopes of the people, finally there's peace, right? That's bull, man. The guy was a politician. The guy was raised by the very same people that have screwed over every culture on the planet. I don't care what you are, okay? That family has ruined lives, and he's part of them, And people have to recognize that. He was not raised by the urban people or the poor people, struggling people, or people of hard work. That's not who he is, man. That guy's been in shadow ops and government ops and had silver spoon after silver spoon stuck down his throat.
Totally.
I mean, he lives in a different world, and people need to understand that.
Well, hey, man, I guess I got less than a minute, so I got to just, you can hang with me, though. I'll just kind of say goodbye to the audience here. But, hey, chat room, thanks again. You all are so awesome. Some of the names I recognize. A lot of people just keep the name the chat room gives you, like Snooky Poo and stuff like that. But either way, there's some of you in there, so it's nice to see you. Thank you. Michael, it was a pleasure, man, as always. Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, you can tell the people your YouTube channel and the name of your book.
The name of the book is Shadows of the Music Industry. Name of the channel is Shield of the Sun.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Hey, guys, once again, this is Rigged Reality Radio, your alternative to the alternative media. We're here live every Thursday night on psnradio.com from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. So thanks so much, everyone. I appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.